All right. So, welcome everyone to Dharma and Recovery this Friday evening. I'm kind of still sensing into the energy of this recent full and very near moon, which is always so wonderful. I love stepping out of my door onto the porch on those evenings of full moons and just kind of taking it all in. And part of what that how that resonates for what I will be focusing on tonight with our exploration of where are you at in recovery and in Dharma practices, relative to energy, relative to effort. Both of these words we find a lot in the teachings of the Buddha. We also find that both of these words are very important when we are in recovery. And actually, I was just thinking about this. The Buddha taught about four wise efforts when we're putting energy into our practice and into our life. And one of those efforts is to cultivate wholesome actions, and another one is to maintain those. So it's so beautiful because just by you choosing to be here this evening, you are engaging in wholesome choices and wholesome choices. Choosing to be here this evening to share this time together. So as usual, we do begin the evening with about a 20-minute meditation, which I will lead us through a little bit in the beginning and then just allow the remainder of the time for your own personal practice. If you have a practice that serves you well and you would rather not listen to the words or being offered, you're welcome to mute and be in your own practice. And we will start with the ringing of the bell, and we will close with the ringing of the bell 3 times. And then we'll come back in to Dharma. So with that, let us begin. As we begin to invite ourselves to a more formalized practice of mindfulness, that form being meditation, it is very supportive to begin by inviting our attention to the very present moment that we are in right now. A skillful way to do that is to notice the presence of the body right here in this very moment. Feeling into the body, tuning into the senses of what this body offers us to experience life. Meditation can be a reflective practice, and so sometimes it's skillful to invite the eyes to close gently. Our seeing is a very powerful sense and can sometimes distract us off into other places. But if you are more comfortable to meditate with your eyes open, invite them to have a very soft gaze, not focusing on anything in particular, just aware. inviting the body into this stillness, while at the same time we're in this stillness, you may notice the movement of the body as the breath flows in and out. Sense into this life-generating flow. How does it feel right now? What are the qualities of the breath? It is very supportive to intentionally invite mindfulness to our practice. Mindfulness to the simple things that are expressing, arising, being, and passing moment by moment. Feeling the presence of now. You may notice sounds in your environment, maybe sounds within the body, noticing the arising, the shifts, the changes. Being the observer of this flow of coming and going all around us without any need to do anything about anything except be. As we settle into more physical stillness, we begin noticing more. We may notice sensations in the body. We may notice thoughts arising in the mind. With a sense of curiosity, allow yourself to recognize what's coming through, allowing whatever it is to just be. Allowing it to flow on. Noticing that things change from one moment to another. And you are still here in this awareness. It is supportive sometimes to cultivate a sense of focus and concentration in meditation. So if sounds or sensations or thoughts want to carry you away off into a story, allow yourself to notice that tendency without judgment and recognize that, remember that you are choosing this time to be the awareness of those things, and invite your attention back to some grounding focus, either the sensations of the breath, maybe a sensation of a part of the body that is pleasant or fairly neutral, maybe even a sound in the environment, something that lets you know that you are right here now. And now noticing the energy that is present. Is there an awakeness, an aliveness? Can you feel the refreshment of the breath as it fills the body? And can you sense into that settling and calming sensation on the out breath? Just feeling into what is present now for you. If there's a sense of restlessness, either in the body or the mind, invite your awareness to focus a little bit more on that settling and grounding out breath. This antidote to restlessness is to invite calm, tranquility. If you are experiencing a sense of dullness or sleepiness, just notice that also without judgment. And maybe invites a stronger awareness to the in breath, this breath that rejuvenates and opens and arouses energy, the balancer. Noticing what the body can be served with in a way that supports calm and ease and awakeness and attention. Every meditation is a journey of ebb and flow. And the intention is to cultivate mindfulness, using the tools we are learning about to continue cultivating them and maintaining them. Breath by breath, in awareness of how is it now. In the stillness, we get to know more of what's happening now. All of life can arise in the stillness, joys and sorrows, challenges, messiness, and happiness. As we cultivate our practice with mindfulness into the stillness and silence, we also open to insight and wisdom. These gifts which support us as we navigate our life, choosing to shift the energy from reactivity and habitual patterns to brave, compassionate, and kind relationship to whatever is arising within and without. So taking a few deep awakening breaths, inviting yourself back into the space that you're in. And maybe scanning the little squares on our computers and just maybe offer the recognition that we're here together and we've made the choice, and how wonderful it is to share recovery and Dharma together. It's the only way. So, I have been focusing a lot on energy recently, and I think it's because there's a lot of change, a lot of shift going on in my life. Some of the shift and change recently has been by choice, and some has been happenstance and has happened. And so I've just been really kind of inviting my awareness and how I'm in relationship to what's going on, whether it's something internally or externally, and to anchor into some of the tools that we have as people who are choosing to live life in a more mindful way, in a more caring way than maybe we tend to sometimes, or maybe more than we used to. I know I live very differently now than I did 15 years ago or whatever, when I was still caught up a bit in drinking and using here and there, and the emotional unsobriety as well, and to choose a path of change takes energy. It takes awareness, it takes curiosity, and it takes choices. And no matter where we are in the path of living clean and sober lives, or where we are in the path of opening to more clear seeing of how things are in the world or within our hearts or within our relationships, and recognizing how we are in relationship with all of that. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful practice. And we never have a lack of opportunities to practice, because everything in this life is an opportunity. And things that we look at as, potentialities of taking us down, we can open our minds to, oh, what does this have to offer for me to learn from, to gain some insight from, or some wisdom from, so that I can move forward or cultivate a relationship that's responsive and caring, not reactive and defensive, coming from often a place of fear or insecurity. So one of the things that happened for me that I didn't choose is that my air conditioning has gone out in my home, and it's been very hot. So fortunately, I have 2 stories in my home, and fortunately, the lower story is pretty much okay. I'm sweating a little bit here. It's still a little hot, but it's not like upstairs where it's like 84 degrees. Oh, was I happy about that happening? No, on so many levels, no. But also, I reflected on how grateful I am that I even have air conditioning. There were many years where I didn't have air conditioning, and many people on this planet and now in this meeting don't. And I recognize that. So here's this thing that I could go be stomping around the house and going, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. How am I going to get it fixed? Contractors are booked out for, months. And, I could be going around complaining and really not happy about this. I can recognize that I have all of these feelings that want to come up and arise, and they need my attention, but I don't need to be driven by them. And so I have the tools to kind of recognize that. And because I've made a choice, we all make choices in our lives from moment to moment and from situation to situation. And there's always an opportunity to come back and revisit something, that maybe we haven't worked with so skillfully, but we have choices, and we're making choices to live more engaged with our life in a way that serves more well-being for ourselves and for others. So in the teachings of the Buddha, he shared about, on the Eightfold Path, there's the facet of energy, of effort. It's really effort. We find energy in other teachings, which I'll get to in a little bit later, but energy is kind of the supportive factor to energy. To effort. And so we recognize how are we in relationship with effort to our practice, and also off the cushion when we're just in our everyday lives, going to work, taking care of the kids or the grandkids, or doing our volunteer work, or whatever it is. We can bring these 4 awarenesses with us that will help support us as we're going about our day. So the 4 endeavors within this category of effort on the Eightfold Path are preventing unarisen, unwholesome thoughts, speech, or actions. The second one is to abandon whatever has come up that's not wholesome in our thoughts, speech, and action. And then the second 2 are the endeavors of cultivating actions, speech, and thoughts that are supportive to well-being for ourselves and for others, and for whatever we come in contact with. And then the final one, the fourth one, is maintaining that 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 mind state. And so when talking about these four areas of attention, the first one, preventing unwholesome thoughts or feelings or whatever from coming up, and the third one, that is about arousing, wholesomeness, wholesome thoughts, wholesome actions, wholesome speech. Those two are the most difficult. Those are the two most difficult ones. And we can, kind of understand, how do I keep something that hasn't even arisen from coming up yet? How do we even recognize what that might be? And so it can be a little bit tricky. In our meditation practice, when we're meditating, how we can use that is in the pauses and in the gaps of our meditation, where there's a little bit of a silence or space. And in that space between us as a human being, kind of sensing and being aware of something that we're perceiving, an object. It may be we're feeling heat on our skin. We feel that heat on our skin. And then there's like a little space. And then we can either go into a reactionary, habitual thing, like, I can't stand this heat. Or in that gap and in that space, we recognize, there's heat. And we just stay in the observance and the awareness of it without getting hooked into a story. That's one kind of example. In everyday life, it can relate to just something that we're doing. Okay, so a couple months ago, I decided I needed to lower my caffeine intake. I enjoy my coffee in the morning. And so I started doing the half caff thing in my coffee. I started making, smaller amounts of cups of coffee than I usually do, just so it wasn't in the pot. And then slowly, gradually, I got to where I was just only decaf. And that's all I was doing. I was putting decaf in. I didn't buy the caffeinated coffee. That was the next step. I didn't buy it the next time I went out in the store. That was hard not to do. But I knew if I didn't have it in the house, it would be helpful. So anyway, one day I was making my coffee, my decaf. I was making it, scooped it all up, put it all in, made it, pushed the button on, and I went, oh my God, I didn't even think about caffeine. So that was like, this is a simple little thing, but we can start with the small things in our life and recognize, that didn't come up. That craving for that caffeine didn't come up, right? I didn't think about, maybe I'll sneak one scoop of caffeine in there, So it's a little thing, but that kind of made me excited. Oh, Deb, that was not allowing something that was unwholesome to arise. Sounds silly, but it's huge. We can build on these little things in our lives, and that can move into situations where we're having a conversation with someone and we're listening, and something that might be said to us, we, might feel a trigger and we'll want to have a reaction about it. Can we be in that gap, in that pause, and not react, not, hit back, not defend? Take that pause and just either continue listening, receiving, allowing space, allowing the other person to be heard. That does wonders sometimes. Sometimes you don't have to do anything else, right? And then the other part about it is that you're not offering fuel to the fire. And as we're moving on to the other endeavors of cultivating, we'll tap into how we cultivate. How do we find these different responses instead of reactions? So anyway, so that's the first one, preventing the arising of things that are unwholesome for us. Then the second one is to abandon things that have arisen. Okay, I think those of us in recovery especially, we've got lots of that stuff that comes up a lot, right? And when we were fresh in recovery, we start seeing we need to start abandoning some things that are just not serving our lives very well. In recovery, we learn about them as character defects. In the teachings of the Buddha, we learn about them as the defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion. We learn about them as the hindrances, desire, aversion, sloth and torpor, restlessness, remorse, worry, and doubt. Those things come up all the time. And how do we deal with them? How are we in relationship with them? And it's human, it's normal, it's going to always happen. I was listening to a Dharma teaching not too long ago, and I can't even remember who it was, but they were just saying, even after Buddha's enlightenment, Mara still came, we're on a path that we will continually be experiencing our human nature. So we continually have opportunities to practice avoiding, abandoning, cultivating, and maintaining. So the in the abandoning section, we find in, where is it? In the Majjhima Nikaya in, what is it? I think chapter 20, the Sutta 20, not chapter, Sutta 20, these 5 methods that we can use when things come up and they've taken us over. The first one is to cultivate an antidote. Try to think of an antidote. So if you're, going throughout you walk outside your front door and it's a not watering lawn day for your neighbor and they're watering the lawn, you might have a little sense of ill will towards them, right? California, we've got all these water restrictions. So you might have this sense of ill will. So what do you do with that? Use the antidote of metta, of kindness, of maybe just understanding. Maybe they didn't get to water their lawn yesterday. Maybe their plants are dying. Just allowing the heart to be open, not letting this hindrance, hook you away. If you're tired, if you're sleepy, if you're feeling dull, whether it's in meditation or whether it's out doing things, notice that. What does that need? What is it calling for? If you need to continue to be engaged, you can arouse your energy. And how can you do that? There are many ways to do that. You can, take a few big, deep breaths. We can do that in our meditative practice. Energize the body. Allow that to fill you up, and it just will. We can do it, right? Maybe, run a few circles or something, just to wake yourself up. Drink a cold glass of water, or stick your head in a bowl of ice. Yeah. And we have all these options, right? So we can use that antidote. If we're experiencing some kind of envy or jealousy, then we tap into mudita, this joy for others, joy that's available to us. It's a choice that we have to make. We can either stay stuck in envy and jealousy as long as we want to, or we can go, this isn't serving any good purpose. And we can choose the joy for the other's happiness. The second one is tapping into these two, in the Tibetan teachings, we find these two references to the guardians of the world. And they are Hiri and Otapa. And when you translate these two words, they translate into moral shame, our consciousness, our natural consciousness that has this, there's a morality in there somewhere. It might be down in there deep, might be right on the surface, but it's in us. And then Otapa is relative to of kind of dreading the results of what might happen, the ramifications, the karma of unwise action or unwise speech or thought. And so they kind of, that's just something that's right there. So if we can listen to that and feel it, I don't know, I could think of, I don't know what I can't think of something I've done recently, but if you get an urge to do something that maybe, you just might shouldn't do it. Like you need to go to your yoga class and it's like, oh, I'm just too tired and I don't want to. And you tell them you're sick or something. That's a little white lie, right? That's not that your conscious will tell you that. You don't need a whole lot more of that. That's something that's just right there. So this Hiri and Otapa are guardians, and they kind of patrol the depths of our human psyche, is what Andrew Olensky says. I think that's a fun thing. The patrollers of the depths of our human psyche. Okay, then the third tool that we have to abandon things that have arisen that are not wholesome for us is to deliberately divert our attention. Just do something different. Turn around, shift, go to another room, make a phone call, go out to your garden, whatever it is. And if it's in the mind, just deliberately think of something different, right? Avoid thinking about whatever it is. We have a brain and we can use our brain. We can think about thinking and we can outsmart ourselves sometimes if we want to. So deliberate distraction. So then the fourth one is to look directly at our mind state. Okay, so that's kind of the opposite of some. We choose to engage with it. And sometimes this is possible, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's very difficult. When things are overwhelming, we might not be ready to directly look at the source, but we can tiptoe in here and there. It's an option. It's another tool that we have. If one of the other tools aren't working, we can do this. So we can look at what's underneath, the desire, what's underneath this feeling of aversion, or what's underneath the sloth and torpor, the greed, delusion, doubt. So we can scrutinize. And so often, just when we give something attention, it softens. It softens. If my dog is coming in and jumping up on me, wanting attention, if I just keep ignoring it, he's going to keep doing it. If I give him some love, he's going to settle, right? So what is calling for attention, we give it the attention and it settles a little bit. So then the fifth thing to do, if all else fails, the Buddha suggests that we just suppress whatever it is, clenching our teeth and saying no. It's like, just say no. Not always easy either. It's kind of a last resort, but use it if you have to. Use it if you have to. And I know there have been a lot of times I've done that, especially early in my recovery. Going to a party, people, still continuing wanting to offer you a drink. It's like, no. You just got to say no, if you're in that situation. So there are these 5 things we can do when unwholesome things arise. So the third endeavor for efforts that the Buddha offers us or suggests to us is to cultivate the wholesome. Cultivate the wholesome. These unwholesome things are going to come up all the time. So we need to have we need to balance all of that out with parts of our life where we are doing wholesome things. And what he suggests on that to us is that we need to, and cultivating this wholesomeness that hasn't come up yet. So we're inviting it. We're inviting it up. And why that's hard too is because, like in the first one, that we're kind of trying to avoid familiar habits. Now we're trying to cultivate something new to take the place of that old habit. So both of those really require a lot of attention, a lot of patience, and a lot of persistence. And it's hard because we start recognizing these, these patterns, these ways that we have, that we're familiar with, and reactions and habitual patterns. And so it can lend towards a little bit of insecurity in the beginning. But what we do, what we cultivate, are what is referred to, in the Buddhist teachings, is cultivating the 7 factors of awakening. These 7 factors, we start paying attention and cultivating these 7 factors in our lives, and tap into them on a regular basis, and build them up and build them up. And over time, they'll become our default rather than the hindrances and the defilements. So these 7 factors of awakening, I know many of us have heard what they are, before. The first one is mindfulness. We always start with mindfulness, being aware, paying attention. And then investigation, being aware, paying attention, getting curious. What's showing up? What's here? And looking at what's underneath of whatever's at the surface. And when we do this investigation, there's this natural tendency for energy to arise. So energy is that factor which is underneath effort. When we get curious and start to get involved with something, we engage. There's a rise of energy. So it's a beautiful thing for us to cultivate that. And when we do that, then what comes after that is joy or rapture. How often have you gotten involved with something and you really put a lot of effort into it, and it was all over? And did you feel satisfied? Was there some sense of feeling, this was good. Yay. It's wonderful to feel these qualities that as human beings that we can share and experience. And then after that, there's often a natural tendency to settle and calm. So this 5th awakening factor is calming. And we can use these. We can use energy to raise energy. We can use calming to lower energy when it needs to. But we find that in this kind of progression of how these factors are listed, there's kind of this natural flow that happens. After joy, we feel calm. And when we're calm, then we have more potentiality to be able to concentrate, to be able to focus. So the 6th factor is concentration. And then the 7th factor is equanimity. Equanimity, it's important to recognize that everything happens in this world, and it will continue happening. The joys and the pleasures, we're going to feel sadness, we're going to feel pain, we're going to feel loss, we're going to feel gain. Can we understand that we can't control all these things, and allow ourselves to accept this is the way of the world, and where I have a choice, what I can, and I don't like to use the word control really, but I can put effort into how I'm choosing to relate with what's going on. And the bottom line for everything is everyone in this world wants to be happy. We want to feel joy. We want to feel community. We want to feel part of. These are the wonderful moments in this life experience. And so to have those foundations be our anchor, kindness, compassion, joyfulness, equanimity, is a beautiful thing. So that's what I have to offer for contemplation for you this evening. And we hear these a lot. Maybe it's the first time for some people. Maybe it's not. Maybe you've heard it over and over again. But cultivating, living a life anchored in these wholesome qualities is a practice. It is a practice, and we do these things over and over again till one day They're almost automatic. And we're just in this space, this mindset of being engaged with life, able to meet whatever shows up with an open heart and going, this too, I can be with this. How are we going to do this? Let's do this. It's okay. I've got my sobriety. I've got my community. I have, most likely chosen ways or seen ways that I am actually an important part of this universe, this world, finding service, ways to be in service to others, an engaged life with boundless potential. So, as I like to say, whatever I can do that's onward leading, let's try to do that. And when I trip up, there's always a roadblock. Forgiveness. It's okay. Forgiveness of self, of other, of whatever it is, and go, yeah, this is life. That was a tough one. Okay. You stand up and you go again. So that's what I want to share and leave with you this evening. And we have a few minutes left if anyone has any reflections or anything that you like to share. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I really appreciate it. Julia.
Hi.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
thank you for sharing. I like the way you presented all the material tonight, and I've been, challenged in my sobriety not to worry. And I notice I get into indulgences like too much caffeine or cookies, and I'm trying to swim and do all the things I love to do and hike and but the worries, I get lost in those, and I'm trying to redirect my thinking, and it's working. It really does work if you get up in the morning and meditate, which I tend to, it's not my natural thing, but I'm trying to make it a part of my day, my everyday. But the caffeine is the tough one for me. So hats off to you for doing that. But thank you. I enjoyed what you had to say. So I'm going to look at this on my phone. I Googled it and the 7 factors of awakening and the cultivation of those. And I'll use that this week to stay focused. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you, Julia. Thank you. Oh, it's so hard for us to change habit patterns. It's just so, especially for us addictive types. We're on the end of the spectrum, so it's definitely a life work. But yeah, we just keep opening ourselves to the next step, the next action. Yeah. Don't give up. Well, if everyone I'm sensing is full and present, and yeah, we can close. We can close our practice this evening, and why don't we just do that with a minute or so of silence, just gathering attention and awareness back to this still point, inviting the body and the mind, the heart space into union, into community. And may the benefits of our practice not only serve the well-being of each one of us individually, but may they serve all of us who are here today, all those who may be listening to this at another time. May the benefits of our practice serve the well-being of those in our neighborhoods and our communities, and expanding outwards, boundless to the entire world. This possibility of sensing into the silence and the stillness, to opening to insight and wisdom, to anchoring and choosing love and compassion, joy, equanimity. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well in body and mind. May all beings experience peace and ease. And may all beings be free from suffering. Thank you for your practice. So have a pleasant evening, and meet your weekend with some love and joy and some courage if it's needed, and immerse yourself. Thank you.